Okay, good morning. Now today's topic, SDL topic is revision of the femur and the tibia. So in this diagram, you can see the long bone that is the longest bone of the thigh, that is femur. It is the longest and strongest bone of the body. It likes the another long bone. It has the upper end, lower end, and the shaft is there. And approximately it is 45 centimeter long. That means it is 1/4 of the height of the individual. See its anterior view and the posterior view. The features are there anteriorly and the posteriorly. We will go to see in detail. Here the when you reach the viva on the table, you have to pick up the bone in proper way. That means you have to pick up the bone and hold in anatomical position. It must be. For the identification of its anatomical position and the site determination, you should know about its features. So which features? That is the upper end consists what structure is there, the lower end is consist what structure, then middle portion shaft, there are the surfaces and borders you should identify. Then you have to hold it anatomical position, it must be, and it is very impressive. Once you hold in anatomical position, obviously its upper end and lower end you can identify. The upper end consists, there is a head, neck, greater trochanter, lesser trochanter. All these features are there. We will see in details. And the lower expanded end consists, there is a condyle are there. For the side determination of this femur bone, you must remember these 3 points. See in the diagram, its upper end bears a rounded head. So you can see this rounded head, which is smooth, having the articular surface is there, whereas the lower end is widely expanded. And to form two large condyle are there. So first point is the upper end bears a rounded head, whereas the lower end is widely expanded to form two large condyle are there. So this is first point you have to remember for the site determination. The second one, head is directed medially. And third is the cylindrical shaft is convex forward. So this is two-dimensional diagram. You can see on the natural bone, then you can identify easily its shaft is convex forward. So these are the 3 points for the site determination. Remember regarding the upper end and lower end. Upper end bears a rounded head, whereas the lower end consists the wide condyle are there, expanded portion is there, and the head is directed medially and the shaft is convex forward. Now its anatomical position. The anatomical position, the head directed medially upward and slightly forward. The shaft is directed obliquely downwards and medially, so that the lower surfaces of the two condyles of the femur lie in the same horizontal plane. For that, one more cue, how to hold this anatomical position and show this and side determination anatomical position. You have to hold this bone on a plane surface. When you hold this bone on the plane surface, that time the two condyli are came horizontally on the same horizontal plane. That time it take a normal anatomical position. That means the head is directed medially upward and slightly forward, and the shaft obliquely downwards medially, so that the lower surface of the two condyli of the femur lie in the same horizontal plane. So this is regarding this anatomical position and the site determination. Remember these 2 points makes your viva smoothly, because for every bone, remember that this must be the anatomical position and the site determination is there. Now come to these features of the upper end. So this upper end of the femur consists, there is a head, neck, and greater trochanter, lesser trochanter, intertrochanteric line, intertrochanteric crest. Okay, these are the features of the upper end. We take this one by one. This slide for the head. Head, the upper end consists the head. It forms the more than half a sphere and directed medially upward and slightly forward. It articulates with the acetabulum cavity which is present on the hip bone, and it forms the hip joint. Here the examiner may ask regarding its articulation of these two bones and which joint is formed and what type of the joint. These are the questions may be asked in the Viva. Now you can see in this diagram there is a head which having the smooth articular surface. At the central you can see there is a depression is there. So this is called pit or fovea. It is just below and behind the center of the head. Regarding its head, the question may be asked. In this diagram, you can see this red color articular surface, and the central just below and behind there is a pit or fovea is there, and this is covered by this hyaline cartilage. Here you have to remember that exception is there near the center where a pit or fovea exists. There is no covering of the articular hyaline cartilage. Attachment of there is a one ligament is there, that is a ligamentum teres femoris. This may be Viva question or MCQ question is there. You have to remember this one. Then it forms the hip joint, which is ball and socket type of the joint is there. So ball means ball is head of the femur, and the socket there is a acetabulum cavity of the hip bone. Now clinically importance regarding its head, there is a blood supply is there. There is a medial part of the head. At the near of this fovea, there is a supplied by the medial epiphyseal arteries, which is derived from the posterior division of obturator artery and from the ascending branch of medial circumflex femoral arteries. These two arteries enter into this. There is a one notch on the acetabulum cavity. There is a called a acetabular notch. Then pass along this round ligament to reach the head. So this is important. You have to remember this one. Another one, there is a large lateral part of the head. So before we have seen there is a small medial part supplied by medial epiphyseal arteries, which is derived from the posterior division of obturator artery and from the ascending branch of medial circumflex femoral artery. Isn't it clear? Now another, the lateral part, that which one is a larger of the head, is supplied by the lateral epiphyseal arteries, which are derived from the reticular branch of the medial circumflex femoral artery. So this is Viva question. They may ask blood supply of the head. There are the two parts are there, smaller medial part, larger lateral part. ध्यान में रखो, smaller medial part and larger, LL ध्यान में रखो, larger lateral part. Okay. So clear about this. Then see next. The neck portion is there. So neck means what? You have seen in the color, that is a neck one. It is about the 5 centimeter long, and it forms the neck shaft angle is there. It is about 125 degree in adults. It is less in female due to there is a wider pelvis. So this is another Viva question or MCQ question regarding the neck shaft angle. In adult, it is a 125 degree, and it is less in female due to their wider pelvis. It is straightened by this thickening of the bone, which is called a calar femoralis, present along its convexity. concavity. Then this neck, you can see in the diagram, it has the upper border and the lower border, and it has the two surfaces. Okay, anterior surface and posterior surface. Its upper border is concave and horizontal, and it's meet to this shaft at the greater trochanter. You can see there is a bony structure where this upper border meet, it is greater trochanter. Then lower border, you can see carefully, it is a straight and oblique, and it meets the shaft near lower one is called the lesser trochanter. Clear? The neck has upper border, lower border. Upper border is horizontal and the lower border is straight and oblique. Its anterior surface is flat, and anteriorly it meets at the shaft at the intertrochanteric line. So from the greater trochanter to the lesser trochanter, anteriorly there is a presence is intertrochanteric line. This intertrochanteric line entirely intracapsular. Okay. Now see this posterior view. Posterior surface of the neck is convex from above downwards and concave from the side to side. It meets to the shaft at the intertrochanteric crest. Remember these two words. Intertrochanteric line is anteriorly, intertrochanteric crest is posteriorly. Regarding its neck, the next point, there is a angle of femoral torsion or angle of anteversion. So what is this? So angle of the femoral torsion is formed between this transverse axis of the upper and the lower end of the femur, and it is about the 15 degree. So clear about this? Angle of femoral torsion or angle of the anteversion, which is formed between the transverse axis of the upper and the lower end of the femur. This is Viva question. Blood supply to this neck, there is an intracapsular part is there of neck, which is supplied by the reticular arteries derived from chiefly from the trochanteric anastomosis is there, and there is a vessels which produce, there is a longitudinal grooves and foramina which are the directed towards the head and mainly on the anterior and posterior surface. The extracapsular part of the neck, there the neck has the intracapsular part and the extracapsular part. Intracapsular we have seen there is supplied by the reticular arteries which derived chiefly from the trochanteric anastomosis. Extracapsular part of the neck supplied by, there is an ascending branch of the medial circumflex femoral artery. So you have to remember these points. These are the MCQ questions. Or in the Viva they may ask you this. Now this is called a greater trochanter. So this greater trochanter is a large quadrilateral elevation which is project out from the junction of the neck and the shaft. Now you can see in the anatomical position, this greater trochanter lies at the 10 centimeter below the tubercle of the iliac crest. So this iliac crest is where is present iliac crest? Anybody? On which bone you can found out this iliac crest? Anybody? Iliac crest is feature of which bone?
Ischium.
Yeah, that is the hip bone is there. Okay, on the hip bone, on the ischium, there is iliac crest present. The tip of this greater trochanter, center of the head of the femur and the pubic tubercle lie in the same horizontal plane. Then this greater trochanter has anterior, lateral, medial surface. You can judge it in the diagram. It has the anterior surface. From anterior view, you can see anterior surface. Then lateral surface is there. On the posterior view, there is a medial surface is there. It has the two border, upper and the posterior, and beneath this neck and this greater trochanter there is a one depression is there. This is trochanteric fossa is present there. Its greater trochanter has an upper border, three surfaces, anterior, medial and lateral, and its apex is termed posterior part of the posterior border. Anterior surface is rough one. I am talking about the greater trochanter. Medial surface present a rough impression, a deep trochanteric fossa. Below that there is the muscle attachment is there, and the lateral surface crossed by there is a oblique ridge from the downwards forward. Now come to this lesser trochanter. It is a conical eminence which is directed medially and backward from its junction of the posterior inferior part of the neck with a shaft. Now we can see there is a line that is called the intertrochanteric line. It is marked junction between the anterior surface of the neck with the shaft. It is a prominent ridge at the anterior superior angle of this greater trochanter as a tubercle and is continuous below the spiral line in front of lesser trochanter. Till now we have understood the lesser trochanter, greater trochanter. From the anterior view you can see these lines, this ridge is there, the bony mark is there. So this is intertrochanteric line, posterior medial surface of the neck shaft angle, and the directed medially backward. This is intertrochanteric line which separate the anterior surface of the neck from the shaft. It runs downwards medially from the upper border of neck, continuous below there is a spiral line. There are the two ligament attachment. There is a capsular ligament and iliofemoral ligament, and two muscles arising from this point. There is a vastus lateralis in upper part and the lateral part, and vastus medialis in the lower and the medial part. So this is intertrochanteric line. Now see this intertrochanteric crest. This intertrochanteric crest separate this posterior surface of the neck of the shaft. It extends from the posterior superior angle of greater trochanter to the tip of the lesser trochanter. Here one more point you have to remember. This may be Viva question. They may show it. They want to show it. That is a quadrate tubercle. At the mid of this intertrochanteric crest, when you feel this from the posterior superior angle of the greater trochanter to the lesser trochanter, you feel your finger at the middle, you see there tubercle, that is a quadrate tubercle. Now there is a capsular attachment. You can start from this anteriorly intertrochanteric line. It is intracapsular, then upper margin of the neck near its root of the greater trochanter. Then it covers the lower margin of neck in front and above the lesser trochanter. Then it goes on the posterior of the neck and 1 centimeter medial to the parallel with the intertrochanteric crest. Now the upper end consists, there is a head. The head has articular surface smooth. Just below and behind there is a pit or depression that is called fovea or pit. Its attachment there is a ligamentum teres or ligamentum head of the finger, which is attached to the acetabulum of the hip bone. So till now we have finished this head portion, neck portion, greater trochanter. Clear? In this diagram you can identify this one. Now come to this shaft. The shaft is cylindrical portion, narrow in middle and more expanded inferiorly than the superiorly. It's convex forward and directed obliquely downwards and medially because its upper end of two femora are separated by the width of the pelvis, and where the lower end are close together. it has three surfaces: anterior surface, medial surface, and lateral surface. It has three borders: medial, lateral, and posterior border. Posterior border, there is a prominent crest is present, that is called a linea aspera. On the posterior, you can see this prominent ridge like structure is linea aspera. This linea aspera has a inner lip, outer lip, and you can see the upper and the lower side of the linea aspera, it diverge. So medial or inner lip continuous, and it diverges in the upper portion and is continuous as a spiral line and goes towards the base of the greater trochanter, where the lateral side, outer lip continues upward and runs, it diverges and runs. There is a gluteal tuberosity is there. Towards the lower side, the inner lip runs downwards and forms the medial supracondylar line, and the lateral side, it forms the lateral supracondylar line. We'll see in detail its attachment next one. Once again, there is a schematic diagram is there. You can see there is a medial lip, lateral is there. The mid lip upper side in upper portion is continuous and diverse. There is a spiral line is there. Another one line, that is a pectineal line is there. You can identify this pectineal line properly, and towards this lateral lip continuous upward and form continuous towards this gluteal tuberosity. Now at the lower side, this medial lip continues downwards and form the medial supracondylar line. Towards the medial side, you can see one another feature, that is adductor tubercle, which is very important point is there. And towards the lateral lip continues downwards and form the lateral supracondylar line. One more point is here, you have to clear there is a nutrient foramen which is directed upward. Okay, towards this lower side, you can see this yellow dot, that is a nutrient foramen which is directed up. Now you can see this structure present attached to the linea aspera. The medial lip, there is an intramuscular septum and vastus medialis is there. So intermediate lip, that means the inner lip and outer lip, in between that there is a space is there, that is called the intermediate lip. There is attachment of the posterior intramuscular septum, and the area between the medial and posterior septa, there is insertion of adductor brevis in upper portion, adductor longus in the lower portion, and more lateral there is adductor magnus is there. So in detail you can see there are the two diagrams are there. There is attachment on the linea aspera. You have to pit pad. It may be separate short note. It in the viva they ask. Regarding its attachment. From medial side to lateral side, we see there is a vastus medialis origin, then adductor longus, then adductor brevis, which is upper inside of the longus. Then we can see the long adductor magnus. For this adductor magnus, you have to note this one point. At the lower side, it is interrupted. Then to its lateral, there is a gluteus maximus on the gluteal tuberosity. Insertion is there. Then see there is a bicep. Then lateral, that there is a vastus lateralis, and lower side there is a vastus intermedius. On the posterior view, we can see there is a pectineal line is there. Now come to its lower end. The lower end of the femur is widely expanded and it forms the two large condyli are there. This is medial condyli and the lateral condyli is there. Anteriorly, these two condyli are united to each other, and are posteriorly they are separated. You can see there are the two diagrams are there. So anterior wave, you can see these two condyli are united, but posteriorly there is a deep gap is there, that is called the intercondylar fossa or intercondylar notch, and project backward and much beyond the plane of the popliteal surface. So which is this popliteal surface, where you can see this linea aspera label. Below one there is a flattened surface is seen, that is called a popliteal surface is there. Then these two condyli, this is lateral epicondyli, then adductor tubercle medial side, medial epicondyli is there. You have to see this properly. This may be asked to show features. Now come to this distal end of this one. There is the articular surface, two condyli partially covered by this large articular surface, divisible into the patellar and the tibial part. So patellar part and the tibial part articular surface. This patellar surface covers this anterior surface of both these condyli and extend more on this lateral condyli than on the medial side. Now see, between these two condyli, the surface is grooved. There is a vertical groove is there, and which is separated this tibial surface and the tibial surface by into two faint grooves are there. Now see, this tibial surface cover this inferior and posterior surface of two condyli. Okay. See this lateral condyli. So below one diagram which is labeled, colored, that is a lateral condyli. It is a flat lateral side and more in line with this shaft. Okay, and you can see and judge it. It is a flat lateral in line with the shaft. It takes this greater part in the transmission of the body weight to the tibia. It is shorter and stronger, and it presents the features, that is prominence portion of the bone, that is called lateral epicondyli. On the lateral side, you can see there is a popliteal groove. So there is one depression is there for this popliteal, that is called a popliteal groove. It is just below and this lateral epicondyli, and there is a muscular impression posterior superior to the epicondyli is there. So these features are present on the lateral epicondyli. Now upper diagram you can see there is a medial condyli is there. It is a convex medial side. Most prominent point, that is called medial epicondyli, and the posterior superior to this epicondyli there is a bony projection seen, that is called adductor tubercle, and this is tubercle is very clinically important landmark is there. There is epiphyseal line for the lower end of the femur passes through it. So next diagram you can see in the middle, that is intercondylar fossa or intercondylar notch is there. This intercondylar notch separates the lower and posterior part of these two condyli, and limited anteriorly by there is a patellar articular surface, and posteriorly by there is a intercondylar line is there. And this is separate this popliteal surface. So this is regarding the lower end. There is a lateral condyli, medial condyli, and intercondylar fossa. So before at the beginning we can see there is an anatomical position of the femur. Place the head femur upward and medially slightly forward. Convex of the shaft in front and lower surface of both femoral condyli on a horizontal surface, so that the direction of the shaft of femur is oblique and sloping downwards and medially. For the side determination, see there is already seen these points. Upper end bears the rounded head, where the lower end is widely expanded to form the two large condyli. Head is directed medially and cylindrical shaft is convex forward. Now come to this muscle attachment on the femur bone. Before we have seen the fovea attachment, there is a ligamentum of this head of femur or round ligament or ligamentum teres attached at the fovea. Then we can see there is a piriformis insertion into apex of the greater trochanter. Then gluteus minimus is inserted into the rough lateral part of anterior surface. Obturator internus and two gemellae are inserted into this. There is an impression which is present on the medial surface of the greater trochanter. Then there is obturator externus insertion of this obturator externus is on the trochanteric fossa. Then the gluteus medius insertion into the ridge of the lateral surface. Now see this lesser trochanter attachment. You can see the blue dot is there. That is psoas major insertion is there on the apex of the lesser trochanter, and the medial part of the rough anterior surface. This psoas major is there. Then iliacus is inserted on the anterior surface of the base of this trochanter and on the area below one. Smooth posterior surface of is covered by the bursa that lies into the upper horizontal fibers of the adductor magnus. Now you can see this gluteus medius, piriformis, obturator internus, and two gemellae insertion is there. Then gluteus minimus all are in the diagram. Now see this intertrochanteric line. There is attachment of absolute ligament of the hip joint, then ligament to the attached. There is a upper band of this iliofemoral ligament on its upper part. Then there is a iliofemoral ligament, lower band of the iliofemoral ligament towards the lower part, and there is one muscle origin that is highest of the vastus lateralis and highest fibers of vastus medialis from the lower end of this intertrochanteric line. Now we are seeing there is a quadrate tubercle which is present on the intertrochanteric posteriorly. There is a insertion here of the quadratus femoris. Then there is a articular J2 below the vastus interface towards the lower 5 centimeter of the anterior surface. Related there is a suprapatellar bursa is there. This vastus lateralis arises from the upper part of the intertrochanteric line anteriorly, and then inner border of the greater trochanter and the lateral lip of the gluteal tuberosity and the upper half of the lateral lip of the linea aspera. Vastus medialis, see in the diagram, vastus medialis which is arising from the lower part of the intertrochanteric line, then it runs downwards on the spiral line medial to the medial lip of the linea aspera and the upper 1/4 of the medial supracondylar line. Then we can see another one. There is gluteus maximus muscle which is inserted on the gluteal tuberosity. See, there is an adductor longus. This adductor longus is inserted this on the medial lip of the linea aspera between the vastus medialis and adductor brevis and magnus. Okay, find out all these muscles. Adductor brevis, you can see this insertion of this adductor brevis from the lesser trochanter to the upper part of the linea aspera. Behind there is a one more muscle is there. Behind there is a pectineus is there, and the upper part of the adductor longus. See, regarding its adductor magnus, insertion into this medial margin of the gluteal tuberosity, linea aspera, medial supracondylar line, and the adductor tubercle. And towards the lower side, it gives the gap for the popliteal vessels. Okay. Then see, there is a pectineus insertion on the extending from this lesser trochanter to the linea aspera. Another muscle, there short head of the bicep femoris, which arises from the lateral lip of the linea aspera and between the vastus lateralis and adductor magnus from the upper two-thirds of the lateral supracondylar line. Then there is an intermuscular septa are there, medial and lateral intermuscular septa attached to the lip of the linea aspera to the supracondylar line. In lower side, lower end of the lateral supracondylar line, there is a origin of the plantar rays. Above the upper part of the lateral head of the gastrocnemius below. So below you can see these muscles are there. So again, I repeat all muscles. See, this piriformis attachment is there. This piriformis muscle arises from this anterior aspect of the sacrum and passes through the greater sciatica foramen before inserting onto the superior and medial aspect of the greater trochanter. It runs an insertion at this point and externally rotate and stabilize the hip joint. Gluteus minimus, it arises from the outer surface of the ilium and inserted on the anterior surface of the greater trochanter. It abducts internally rotate the hip joint. Vastus medialis arises from the posterior of the femur. It runs on the linea aspera towards the medial supracondylar ridge and goes towards this lower side. It wraps itself around the medial aspect of the femur. Vastus lateralis, it is one of the quadriceps muscle. Attachment from the upper intertrochanteric line, base of the greater trochanter, linea aspera laterally, then lateral supracondylar ridge, then lateral intermuscular septum. Iliacus, origin from the inner aspect of the ilium. Another along with this iliacus, there is a psoas muscle is there. So commonly iliopsoas muscle it is called, origin from the anterior surface of the lower border of the transverse process of L1 to L5 and lateral aspect of bodies and the disc of the L2 L5. These are inserted on the lesser trochanter. So there is a greater trochanter inner side, there is a fossa like structure. You can see there is an attachment of the obturator in this obturator internus arising from the inner surface of obturator main and the posterior margin of obturator foramen. Then gluteus medius, gluteus minimus, then quadratus femoris, gluteus maximus is there. Adductor magnus, especially for this adductor magnus, remember that towards this lower side there is a deficient is there is a gap is there. Then short head of the biceps, medial head of the gastrocnemius, on the popliteal fossa you can see the lateral head of the gastrocnemius towards the lateral side. On the laterally there is a lateral collateral ligament, medially there is a medial collateral ligament attachment is there. So inner side there is a posterior cruciate ligament and the anterior cruciate ligament attachment is there. Its ossification, one primary center for the shaft. It has the three secondary center for upper end, one each for the head, greater trochanter and lesser trochanter, and one secondary center for the lower end. Now come to the tibia part. Tibia is medially, it is larger than the fibula. Fibula is another one bone of the leg. It is weight bearing bone and derived from the Latin word meaning flute. Tibia and fibula are held together by there is a interosseous membrane. For the side determination of the fibula, remember these 2 points are there. The upper end is much larger than the lower end. See in the diagram. The medial side of the lower end is project downwards beyond the rest of the bone towards the ankle joint. See this bone projection is there, is called the medial malleolus. Its anterior border of shaft is most prominent and like a crest called sheen of tibia. It is sinuously curved and terminate below at the anterior border of the medial malleolus. So tibia type of the bone is a long type of the bone which has upper end, lower end, and the middle portion is the shaft is there. The tibia consists, upper end consists, there is condyli are there, medial condyli and lateral condyli. When you see superiorly on this condyli, there is articular surface are there. Upper end of this tibia mark expanded from the side to side to form the large condyli which overlapping there is the posterior surface of the shaft. And the upper end there is a medial condyli and the lateral condyli. And in between these two condyli, there is an intercondylar area is there. And tuberosity also present. So this medial condyli, you can see it is a large superior surface articulate with the medial condyli of the femur. The shape of medial condyli is oval shape. Long axis is anterior-posteriorly. Central part of the medial epicondyli comes in contact with the femoral condyli, and peripheral part separated from there is a femoral condyli by a medial meniscus. Its lateral border or lateral margin of this medial condyli raised, and posteriorly there is a grooved anterior medial surface. There are the numerous foramina present. We can see in the diagram. See this lateral condyli articulate with articular surface. Then it is a circular in shape. Its superior surface articulate with the lateral condyli of the femur. Its central part is concave, and its peripheral part is flat, which is separated by the lateral meniscus. Posterior inferior, there is a fibular facet. It is a flat circular facet which is directed downwards and backward and laterally for the articulation with the fibula. There is a superomedial to the fibular facet. There is a groove is present. See in this diagram, these two medial and lateral condyli is there. You have to identify it according to its shape. So this is medial half of the medial epicondyli, and this is a lateral epicondyli is there. And in between this rough area is called the intercondylar area. So menisci are present. There are the two crescent-shaped intracapsular fibrocartilaginous structure which is situated on each side of this tibial facet, that is medial meniscus and the lateral meniscus is there. Attachment before backward, there is anterior horn of the medial meniscus, anterior cruciate ligament, anterior horn of lateral meniscus, posterior horn of lateral meniscus, posterior horn of medial meniscus, and posterior cruciate ligament. Okay, you have to remember and pipette all these attachment. This is very important for Viva. So the menisci are wedge-shaped and cross-section, and menisci widen and deepen the tibial articular surface that receives the femoral condyli. Now anterior surface of the lateral condyli, there is a lower end of the iliotibial tract attachment is there. On the posterior surface, there is a groove. This groove for the tendon of popliteus. There is fibrous capsule which is deficient. Infrolateral portion, there is an overall circular facet that is for the fibula, and it forms the superior tibiofibular joint. Posterior part of this condyli of the medial condyli, there is a horizontal groove is present. This horizontal groove is a semimembranous is insertion is there. Anterior of both condyli, there is a presence that is a tibial tuberosity, which is a triangular one. Here this attachment, capsular attachment is there. Line along this articular surface of both condyli include this posterior margin of intercondylar area, except that two sides are there. Behind the lateral condyli of the capsule is deficient for the tendon of popliteus. This is MCQ or Viva question, remember. In front of both condylis, the capsule carried or downwards up to the tibial tuberosity and blend with the ligamentum patelli, iliotibial tract, medial and lateral retinaculum it forms. So this proximal posterior end, you can see lateral and medial condyle. In between there is a intercondyle area is there. So below this tibial plateau is a prominence of the bone, that is a tibial tuberosity is there. So on the tibial tuberosity uppermost part there is a Grady's tubercle also present. This is viva question. They may ask regarding to this Grady's tubercle is a facet prominence on this anterior surface of lateral tibial condyle, and it receives the iliotibial band or iliotibial tract. Now see the shaft has the three borders. Anterior border is called the sheen of the tibia. It runs from the tibial tuberosity to the anterior border of medial malleolus. Deep fascia of the leg is attachment on this one, and superior extensor retinaculum. Middle border, which is posterior margin of medial malleolus, there is attachment of the deep fascia of the leg, superficial part of tibial collateral ligament, popliteus muscle, part of soleus muscles, below the soleal line, deep transverse fascia of the leg, medial end of the flexor retinaculum at the medial malleolus. So this is medial border. So this posterior border is referred as the medial border. It has the three surfaces, medial, lateral and posterior surface. This medial surface faces the anteromedially between the anterior and medial border. In lower third portion of the medial surface, there is a cross, there is a great saphenous vein and saphenous nerve. This is viva question. Towards the lower third of the medial surface, which structure cross? Great saphenous vein and saphenous nerve. You have to remember this one. Then hockey stick insertion, there is a gyro muscles are inserted on the tibia. This is sartorius, gracilis and the semitendinous. On the lateral surface present between the anterior and interosseous border, anterior surface of the lower end, medial to the lateral. These structure are very important. This is viva question. They may ask this structure from anterior to lateral on the anterior surface of the lower end, medial to the lateral, tibialis anterior, extensor hallucis longus, extensor tibial artery with vena commitans, deep peroneal nerve, extensor digitorum longus, peroneus tertius. Once again, repeat all these things. Anterior surface of the lower end, medial to lateral, the structures are tibialis anterior, extensor hallucis longus, anterior tibial artery vena commitans, deep peroneal nerve, extensor digitorum longus, and peroneus tertius. On the posterior surface present between the medial and lateral border, and there is a structure present, that is a soleal line. Soleal line extend downwards medially, and there is attachment of the soleus muscle, which is covering the popliteus fascia, covering the popliteus. Semimembranous, extend and deep the transverse fascia of the leg. At the lower end, we can see there is a most prominent features of the tibia. There is a medial malleolus. Inferior surface of the tibia, there is a smooth covered in articular hyaline cartilage and articulated with the talus bone. This is one question. Then tibia and the medial malleolus form the medial part of articulation of the ankle joint. And its lateral aspect of the tibia towards the lower end of the tibia articulate with the distal fibula at the fibular notch, and it forms the inferior tibiofibular articulation or joint. Earlier we have seen, where I taking this revisions, only this iliotibial tract, it extends attached to the Grady's tubercle on the anterior aspect of the lateral tibial condyle. Then iliotibial band or tract insertion is there. Then tibialis anterior, which is coming from the lateral condyle of the tibia and inserted on the medial cuneiform and the base of the first metatarsal. It acts as a dorsiflexor of the ankle and invert the foot. Then semimembranous, coming from the superior lateral quadrant on the posterior surface of the ischial tuberosity and goes towards the posterior aspect of the medial tibial condyle. Action, it extends the hip and flexes and rotate the knee. Then we have see the gyro muscles are the sartorius, gracilis, and semimembranous is there. You have to remember, say grace before. Then there is a 3 muscles, you can see its insertion. Then popliteus muscle, it arising from the posterior surface of tibial superior to the soleal line and runs downward, upward and laterally and crosses through the knee joint before inserting onto the lateral condyle of the femur. It unlocks the extended knee by lateral rotating the femur on the tibia. Then soleus muscle, which is coming from the posterior aspect of the fibular head, upper 1/3 of the posterior surface of the fibular shaft, and goes towards the downwards towards the foot bone. Then tibialis posterior, which is coming from the posterior aspect of the interosseous membrane and inserted onto the tuberosity of the navicular with extension to other tarsal bone centimeters 2 to 4. The action, it inverts, adducts and supinates foot and plantar flexes the ankle. Flexor digitorum longus. Now see, these cruciate ligaments are there. Attachment is of the cruciate ligament, posterior cruciate ligament, medial collateral ligament of the knee joint, then anterior cruciate ligament, posterior cruciate ligament, anterior horn of medial meniscus, posterior horn of medial meniscus, anterior horn of lateral meniscus, posterior horn of lateral meniscus. Okay, in this diagram you can see 4 menisci are there, and anterior horn of posterior meniscus, anterior horn of medial meniscus, posterior horn of medial meniscus, anterior horn of lateral meniscus, and posterior horn of lateral meniscus. So all these below one slides are, all these are the muscles revisions are there. Tensor fasciae lata origin from the superior iliac spine inserted on the iliotibial tract. Then sartorius earlier we have seen. Then gracilis coming from the ramus of the pubis and goes towards this medial surface of the tibial of the shaft. Then semitendinous superior medial quadrant posteriorly from the ischial tuberosity to the superior aspect of the medial tibial shaft. Semimembranous also coming from the ischial tuberosity and goes towards this medial tibial condyle. Popliteus muscle coming from the origin of posterior surface of the tibia and superior to the soleal line and inserted on the lateral surface of lateral condyle of the femur. Soleus muscle, tibialis posterior, flexor digitorum longus, flexor hallucis longus, tibialis anterior. So